and Long Island Talks.
Thank you, Colleen. The fiscal crisis continues in Nassau. Hundreds of county jobs are at stake, and those still working face a wage freeze. So what's next for Nassau, its employees, and its taxpayers? 516-393-1800 is our number. Long Island Talk starts right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Long Island Talks, the show that lets you weigh in on the big stories of the day. I'm Lee Tyrell. Nassau's money troubles continue. County Executive Ed Mangano presented a revised budget to NYFA with deeper cuts, but the State Oversight Board said it still wasn't enough and will impose a wage freeze on county workers. News 12 Long Island's Jill Wagner has the update.
The deficit is real. The deficit is substantial.
Yesterday, the NYFA board declared Nassau County in a state of fiscal emergency. Today, Nassau Executive Ed Mangano said the budget is more than sound.
That in 2010, I inherited a deficit. We ended with a surplus. We're going to do the same thing for 11.
So what gives? As News 12 has reported, Mangano already revised his budget. It calls for hundreds of layoffs and across-the-board cuts in order to avoid a property tax increase. But NYFA says the money he's counting on may not show up. Here's one example. The county executive wants to add about 50 more red light cameras. Now, he's projected that will bring in millions of dollars of revenue to the county, and he's already factored that into the budget. The problem, adding the cameras requires state approval, and that hasn't happened yet.
Our staff's meeting with their staff, and and we're saying we don't understand this. You need to give us documentation. So they give us documentation.
They set a very high bar.
Meanwhile, NYFA suspended pay increases for county workers. Mangano agrees with that. He says it will save Nassau $10 million this year, but the unions see it differently.
We're in court already.
CSEA President Jerry Laracuda plans to sue the county for breaking their contracts.
There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of fear out there. No one's ever seen anything like what's going on in Nassau right now.
In Mineola, Jill Wagner, News 12 Long Island.
Now, Jill says the NYFA board had some free advice for the county. Drop its lawsuit. The board says Nassau has already paid lawyers more than $400,000, money it could use, NYFA says, to help balance the budget. 516-393-1800 is our number. litalks@news12.com is the email. Joining me here tonight in the studio is Jerry Laracuda, president of Nassau County CSEA Local 830. The local is Nassau's largest union with 10,000 members. Good to see you, Larry. And Democratic County Legislator Wayne Wink of Roslyn. Now, we invited Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano to join us tonight. Staffers told us that he was unavailable. So you guys thought the Levy story would give you guys in Nassau a break, but no. Because what's going on in Nassau, Wayne, right now is really pretty serious. The NYFA board took the next step, and so now we're in financial crisis in Nassau. What does that mean?
Well, it means we're in uncharted territory, quite frankly. Nassau County is in places where we never thought we'd be and where we really are not sure what our footing will be for the next steps.
Do you think NYFA took the right step, or were they being too hard on the county?
I think unfortunately the county has become addicted to borrowing, particularly for tax cert refunds and whatnot, and it really unfortunately took a reality check. I mean, no one is gloating, no one is happy about NYFA taking over, because quite frankly it will mean pain, and significant pain, to those most in need of our services.
You know, Jerry, you said in the story you've never seen anything like this before. I got to agree with you. In all the years that I've been covering Nassau County and Suffolk, I haven't seen anything like this either.
Yeah, you're right, Lee, because usually we can figure something out, or there's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. I don't see any light at the end of this tunnel unless somebody actually does their job, because it can't always come back to the lower middle class and middle class workers.
All right, now but when you say somebody does their job, who do you mean by somebody, and what do you want that person to do?
Well, I think, listen, responsible budgeting has not been done for quite a while. Responsible budgeting not only keeps expenses in check, but it also keeps the revenues flowing. I mean, everybody in their home knows that things go up. Your gas goes up, your mortgage goes up. You know, things go up. And how does anybody expect a county this size to operate year after year without the taxes going up a little bit? And, you know, everyone says, "Ooh, he just said taxes." Yeah, I know, I just said taxes.
You did.
Guess what? That's how we get the services that Nassau County provides. We don't want to see tremendous tax increases. We can't afford it either. I mean, the county workers don't make a lot of money, but we've given and given, and it's never enough. It's like Nassau County is the black hole of budgets. I mean, you just can't fill this void up, no matter what you do.
He did say, Wayne, he said the tax
He did
increase.
indeed.
I mean, Ed Mangano has been very adamant, no property tax increase.
Well, let's cycle back 2 years to the last time we were really on the verge of this. And in 2009, when we had a $130 million problem we needed to fill in mid-year within the budget, the unions came through. They did everything that was asked of them in terms of concessions, savings, and things of that nature. And quite frankly, about 15% of the solution was in the form of a home energy tax. 15% of the solution was home energy tax.
$38 to $40 million was the projected.
But in the 2009 numbers, it would have been about 20 million.
About 20 million, okay.
On a half-year basis.
Okay.
And the fact of the matter is that I, for one, thought that the only way we could actually make the demands that we were making of the unions and of our workers throughout the county was to actually do that which was within our control. And that was 15% of the solution. And in response for that, the unions more than came through with their share.
So then Ed Mangano ran on, I'm going to get rid of that home energy use tax.
Right.
And came through with a promise and got rid of it.
Right.
And some revenue.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, it did create a hole, and that hole, I think, is very difficult to go to the union workers and say to them, you need to fill the hole that I just created. And that's really a big part of this problem here.
While we're still, by the way, not to interrupt you, but while we are in the middle of filling the first hole,
exactly,
we're still in a rescue plan with concessions in place as we speak.
Yeah,
right.
But let me ask you then, Jerry, what else is there left to cut?
You know, our services here in Nassau County are going to be down to, I mean, they're already down to bare bones.
And that's what everybody feels like. Everything's down to the minimum as it is.
You know, we had a very tough winter here in Nassau County, right? But yet, somehow, our DPW guys, they were out there working 30, 35 hours straight without a break to get those roads cleared. They're not going to be able to do that next year because there's going to be less of them. And quite frankly, I mean, then things that, you know, services that the average taxpayer or resident don't see, but they should, are like social services. You have 2,000 people a day going through that social services building, and yet every year we have less and less staff. You could be on that line for 3 hours now, maybe 4 hours in the middle of the winter before you actually get to see a caseworker. And then that caseworker is so overworked, 3 or 4 times the accepted caseload. And when's it going to end? I mean, how can we continue to do this? We just can't.
And the other thing, Wayne, too, is a lot of people who you talk to, a lot of residents you talk to out there on the streets, really believe there's a lot of waste and abuse in the system.
They do. I mean, one of the opportunities I think NYFA provides that hasn't really been entertained and really examined is the fact that they can provide operational and financial audits of all the various county departments, of all the services we provide.
More than 50,000, right?
Well, they have complete oversight over contracts of that nature, but they can proactively do operational audits of all the different county departments and find other areas of efficiencies that can come about. You know, that I think has been in short supply in recent years in this county, and that may be the opportunity to minimize some of the pain while coming up with better solutions.
All right, let me ask you then, what do you think about the wage freeze?
Unfortunately, I think the wage freeze became a necessary part of the NYFA arsenal, as it were, especially given the fact that so much of the rest of the plan that was put out by the Mangano administration was speculative, was at risk, as NYFA described it.
And what you're saying is revenue that might come in, but we're not 100% sure it would. Jill gave a great example when she talked about the red light cameras.
Absolutely.
And putting up red light cameras, if they're approved, will bring in more money that you can then add to the budget.
Right.
But they still have to be approved by the state legislature and installed, so it's speculative money.
And by the county legislature. Not that I think that would be a problem, but there are a number of hurdles involved with so many of the proposals.
So it's got to be concrete money. It's got to be real money, not maybe money.
It's got to be something that can be done, and something that can be done either by the county executive directly or immediately through the county legislature. And very little of his plan actually has those types of savings or revenue incentives.
Now, you said you're going to fight the wage freeze in court.
Yes, we believe that there are some legal issues to, number one, we have a contract. I mean, I understand that everyone says NYFA this, NYFA that, but however, I think the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to for contractual language to go forward. No legislation can be passed to override contractual language. Now, that might change in this case. We'll have to let the courts hear it, because there is in 1999, when NYFA was created, it was created in lieu of bankruptcy.
Right.
All right, so we get that.
Right.
But also, it's the manner in which this county is putting forth the wage freeze. We negotiated a contract with the county, and then the county went ahead and asked the control board to freeze our wages. Wait a minute. Yesterday, you negotiated what you thought was a fair deal, and tomorrow, the next day, you said, wait a minute, we changed our mind. Even though you had met your obligations and did what you had to do, we changed our mind. We don't want to go forward. We don't want to do our end of the bargain anymore. And that's basically the way we see it. There's a legal issue there, and we plan on definitely looking into it.
All right, I got viewers on the line. Nassau's budget crisis, 516-393-1800 is the number. I'm going to take some of your calls when we come back, so stay with us. Shaking your confidence in county government? The answer among our viewers so far, 71% of you say yes, 29% say no. Welcome back to Long Island Talks. We are talking about Nassau's budget crisis tonight. Joining me tonight in the studio is Jerry Laracuta. He's president of Nassau County CSEA Local 830 and Democratic County Legislator Wayne Wink of Roslyn. We invited Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano to join us tonight, but staffers told us he was unavailable. Let's take a listen to what our callers are saying. We go to Bethpage. Larry's on the line. Hi, Larry.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Welcome, Jerry. I've been a CSEA member for 20 years, and I think you're doing a terrific job.
Oh, thank you.
My question is some of us members tend to lose $5,000 or $6,000 in a year with this NYFA budget situation. If we raise taxes $100, $200 per household in Nassau County, it could wipe this budget deficit clean. Why won't they do it?
That's a good question, and you know, Wayne, you know that it's in some cases it can be political suicide to say we're going to raise taxes. It's a hard thing for a politician who's running a municipality to come to that decision.
It's certainly problematic. I mean, we know that from past history. You know, even the 3.9% tax increase that went into effect for the 2009 year came with a price, and the home energy tax certainly came with a steep price for a few of my colleagues and for our county executive.
That the county executive lost the election because of that.
I think it was a contributing factor. I can't disagree there, but I do think it was a number of issues that quite frankly, all came together at the same moment. You know, rise of activism, I think, on the right, a lack of enthusiasm on the left. There were a whole series of issues.
So let me ask you, do you think there should be a consideration of raising taxes this time around?
I think nothing can be off the table, and I've said that for many years now. I think nothing can be off the table. I would like to see things like the audits that I was talking about, that NYFA is empowered to do.
Find some of the waste and abuse first.
Find some opportunities for savings, find some new thinking and some fresh eyes on the county government.
So
but
tax
from there,
increase last resort.
I would agree it's a last resort.
I don't even think, Lee, that 150 to 200 even, I think that's even more than they need.
Really? Okay.
I don't think they even, I mean, you know, the taxpayer, I understand the frustration out there, and even
You're paying
the
taxes too.
I'm paying them, but you know, I think the school taxes go up almost that much every year. And yet we just grunt about it and walk away, and we say, oh, well, what are you going to do? Then we go 5, 6, 7 years without a tax increase in the county, and we want to know why the sky is falling. Well, if you don't keep up with that, it's not responsible budgeting. It's all I said before. I do feel sorry for not just my members, but for all Nassau County residents that are struggling to pay their bills. But if you want these services, when you dial 911, if you want somebody to pick that phone up, unfortunately, we've got to pay for that.
We've got to pay for it. Let's go to Island Park. Stuart's on the line. Hi, Stuart. Go ahead, Stuart. We can hear you. You're ready to go.
I think Stuart hung up.
Do I have Stuart there? Oh. All right, Robert from North Belmore's there. Hi, Robert. Go ahead.
How you doing? Thank you for letting me speak.
Could you hear me?
Yes. Well, go ahead. Hold on, Stuart. We'll get to you in a second. Let's let Robert go first.
All right. Thank you. I think they're just stopping salary increases is not going to bring any money in. That's like a total loss there. There's no money coming in when you just stop the salaries. I think they should have layoffs. But you know what? I think they should start at the people at the top, not the people at the bottom. You get rid of one person at the top, that saves 10, 15 jobs at the bottom. I think they should reverse it.
Well, what do you think about that, Jerry?
Is this Stewart or?
No, we're talking to Robert from North
sorry,
Belmont.
Robert.
Yeah, we're talking
Well,
to Robert.
I mean, listen, you can't start at the top. I mean, you're talking about the top of what? The top of the. I absolutely believe that non-union management folks should go first. I'm with you there, Rob.
I think he's saying union top should probably go first because they're making the most money.
Well, it doesn't go by that. Civil service is around for a reason, and there's laws involved.
First
it goes
in,
by seniority.
Yeah. First in, last out.
It goes by seniority. But he is right about one thing. I'm going to tell you one thing that you're wrong about. Layoffs are not always effective. In '92, we had massive layoffs here in Nassau County. They proved to be ineffective. We had to hire half the people back. And let's not forget that now I think you pay unemployment insurance for up to 2 years. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's up to 2 years. And that's a big expense for this county. So we have to figure out another way. And we're working on some ideas.
All right, let's go now. We go to Stuart. Hi, Stuart. Thanks for holding on.
Thank you. I wanted to say that I'm working for the county for Public Works for 31 years now. And I wanted to ask Jerry, there's a rumor going around that our longevity checks, which are due next week for last year, for 2010, that the county decided to put a hold on that. Is that true? And can they do that? That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you, Stuart.
You taking my call. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, Stuart. That I know I heard the same rumor, believe me, quite a bit. But I do think that I don't think that's going to happen. I think they are going to put forth the longevity checks because the longevity is paid for the prior year. So there's a debate going on, a legal debate and a common sense debate, that the smaller increase in everyone's longevity check might be held up, and that's what's causing the confusion. So your longevity check might be a little late. I know this is what I'm talking about, Lee. People depend on these payments. It's not that I'm sure he's not going to run out and buy a Cadillac with this money. He needs to, maybe it's tuition, maybe it's something. These county workers depend on these monies.
Can you explain to people what a longevity check is? Because I'm not sure everybody understands.
Yeah, I mean, after 11 years, you start to get a small amount. Actually, I'm sorry, we changed it in CSCA. It's actually up to 6, but it's very small, incremental amounts of money. I think it starts off at about $150 for the whole year. It's a little bonus check that you get. But really what it was meant for, and this is for people that have been around for 20, 25 years, it's a supplemental check once a year because there are no more step increases. So you stop getting, the annual step increase after 11 years. So the longevity check was meant to supplement that so that there would be, a reward for being a good employee and hanging around and working for Nassau County.
Now, you and I know that that's one of the perks that some people say is not necessary any longer.
I understand that, and that might be for future negotiations, but you cannot just listen. There's a lot of things. I understand that in law enforcement that we spend an awful lot of money defending people, and maybe the Bill of Rights is no good these days. Let's throw that out.
We can't even take that. We got enough chaos as it is.
That's what I'm saying. You have a deal with the union. If you want to negotiate that, our contract's up in 15. Start talking to me in 14.
Let's go to Lamont from Uniondale. Oh boy, Lamont, talk quick because I'm not sure I'm going to have a lot of time for you. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Jerry, I appreciate your work. I'm actually a Nassau County employee for the last 13 years, and I'm grateful and very appreciative to have my job. But my problem is that, my complaint is that it seems that every time the county gets into some kind of financial, fiscal problems, they look to the county workers to solve.
All right, don't count me out, guys, because I just wanted to hear what he had to say so I could jump in.
Yes, and in the last 13 years that we've gone through 2 lag payrolls already.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, today, union workers rallied in Nassau, calling on the county to find budget savings somewhere else. We are one! We are one! We are one! Well, members of the CSEA protested proposed layoffs today outside the legislative building. As News 12 has reported, County Executive Ed Mangano's revised 2011 budget calls for 214 county workers to be let go. It also includes a 13-day unpaid furlough. The county has said the choice is clear: either agree to concessions or face cuts. And I'm joined now by the 2 leaders from both sides of this issue, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano and Nassau CSEA President Jerry Laracuta. Thank you both for joining us today. And Mr. Mangano, let's talk about this. This is Nassau's in a very tough fiscal state right now, and this is something that you proposed, laying off over 200 county employees. Explain where this is coming from.
Well, obviously, with the control board that came in, there became new rules that we have to live by, actually the highest standard in the country. And to meet those new rules, we have to further reduce costs, and part of those costs require labor participation.
Okay, and was this a tough decision for you? I mean, is this, what's the alternative?
It always weighs very heavy on you. As you know, we've cut spending by $171 million. Through working actually with our union leaders, we've reduced the size of government by over 800 workers. But we have to continue along this path. We have to continue to right-size government. Quite simply, the taxpayers just can't afford to pay any more. Nassau County is the highest taxed county in the nation. In the nation. It is time to take a stand. We've taken a stand in the county. Last year we cut the size of government and turned a deficit into a surplus. We plan to do the same in 2011 as we have very challenging times. Yeah. Labor needs to participate.
And Mr. Laracuta, today about 1,000 union employees protested these cuts that you say is devastating.
Right. Well, because it's been an ongoing scenario since 2005, really. And year after year, the county worker has given back to both the county and the taxpayer. We are the taxpayers. We know what it's like. We're having trouble, too, you know, making our ends meet. But you have to be genuine. When you talk about the highest taxes, the second highest taxes in America, and where that money's coming from, realize it's not the county workforce that's causing that problem. We've said that time and time again.
So talk about some of these things that you say you have done since 2005.
Well, I mean, listen, we've taken zeros, we've deferred to raises, and I think the one that hurt the most was the lag payroll, because our members, you know, the average pay is around $50,000 a year, and if you think that's a lot, it's not in Nassau County, where you have both mom and dad working, and sometimes dad's working 2 jobs or mom's working 2 jobs, and to miss an entire 2 weeks worth of pay in that year was a tremendous, you know, it was a real hit for them, and they don't feel like they're appreciated. They don't feel like anybody ever cares. They don't feel that anybody recognizes the sacrifice that they've put into it. That's all. That's what this demonstration was about, just getting our word out.
Yeah, but you know, in the state that Nassau is in right now, there has to be some give and take. And when you talk about deferred payments, that just means at some point they will get that money because they're deferring the payment. I mean, at some point, when you talk about concessions and helping Nassau as a whole, do you have to sacrifice a little bit? What sort of sacrifices other than deferred payments?
Well, I think we're doing it right now. NYFA just froze our wages, so there's another zero. That's not, you know, that's not something, that's not a deferral, that's not a give it back to me later. How many things can we do? We're on deferrals, and while we're on deferrals, our next increase just got frozen. And people that are in their steps, which is very large. It's a very important issue for county workers because they strive to reach to a certain step. And when it's frozen, they can't make it, that's devastating to them.
And when you talk about give and take, Mr. Mangano, what cuts have you made in your inner circle, in the administration, that could maybe make a little bit more sense of why you'd want to make these cuts?
Well, my office alone runs with $1 million less labor than my predecessor's office. We're trying to lead by example. There is a tremendous amount of waste in a $2.6 billion budget. We try to go through it surgically, so we're removing just the waste and continuing to deliver good services. I am very appreciative of our county workforce. They do a great job. It was evidenced in the snowstorm of last year. We have to work together to streamline government and right-size government. We're asking for some concessions to get through the tough times. That's what's required. If we can't come together on these concessions, we'll have no other choice but to lay off. We must meet the numbers that's set before us. The people can't afford any more dollars, and we have to come together. It's like you in your home. You may not want to cut back, but if your pay is only a certain amount, you have to cut back. Well, that's what the county has to do right now, and everybody has to participate. It's a shared sacrifice situation. We've been fair about it, but we've been diligent about it, and we have to enact it.
Now, you guys are obviously sitting here next to each other. Have you met before? When do you plan to meet? Sure. I mean, what's the next step?
We actually like this county executive. I mean,
really?
You wouldn't believe it. We meet all the time. We speak all the time. We differ on which way we have to go for this because we believe we've already gave and sacrificed, and we are having more imposed. However, this county executive believes that we need to do more. So that's where our main difference is. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of issues we have worked out.
Okay, and we're going to meet again?
Oh, absolutely. We continue to talk to try to do the right thing for not only the taxpayer but the county workforce.
And I think the biggest thing people want to hear, I mean, if these cuts don't go through or if they do, I mean, are people looking at a tax hike here?
We've eliminated a planned 16.5% tax hike. This is the first administration that put money back into people's pocket by repealing the home energy tax. We are tuned in. Nassau County is tuned in that the homeowner cannot afford a property tax increase, and that is our agenda, and we're working hard to make certain that that is avoided at all costs. Highest real property tax county in the nation. The county's leading by example. Our other municipalities need to join in, take a stand, and find a better way.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, County Executive Mr. Larry Cuda. We appreciate you being here. And